She laid in bed waiting, always waiting. It took so much energy just to wait, but she couldn't do much else. She had 240 stitches in her gut shaped like the letter C. Her belly was black and blue and it hurt like hell. She had 2 black eyes and a chipped bone in her nose, but she didn't give a fuck. She never gave a fuck. Her jaw ached in part from the awful grinding they took, and the repeated rabbit punches the day before helped also. She wanted a cigarette real bad, but she was too sore to even consider getting out of bed. He stared at his knuckles. They were swollen and beyond sore. That bitch had a hard jaw. His face and neck had exposed and open sores from her goddamn fingernails. He was a mess. Nowhere near as screwed as she was, though, that cunt. He taught her good, that prick tease. Just always walking around, shaking that big ass all over the place, and then not giving none out. He showed her all right. He showed her good. She had a 2-room apartment on the Upper East Side, a 3-floor walk-up. It was small and dark and thrift store plush. Everything seemed to be maroon or deep violet or dirty brown, almost like a church. There were heavy curtains on all the windows, and only a 25-watt bulb illuminated the whole place. It even smelled morbid, mildewed or something. That was a comfortable place to her, where she could usually relax, but not tonight. He lived near the waterfront. It was damp, greasy, and rotting by anyone's set of standards, even his, but it was cheap. So he stayed there, and he had nowhere else to go. It had the appearance of being a garage, but it was very bare, exposed bulbs, you know the type, unprotected windows. It caused the light to be almost blinding in the day, blinding in the night. There was grease on everything, even on the pillowcases, but shit, he'd get 'em washed soon. There were 2 straight-back chairs and a mattress on the floor. A cardboard crate once held fresh fish from the waterfront was now his table. On it sat 3 filthy coffee cups and a spoon and fork, all his silverware, except for his 8-inch cutting shears. She flung her phone book against the wall. She couldn't stand any of those bastards tonight, not a one. They told her to stay in bed for about a week. Bullshit. She'd get up and go out tonight even if it fucking killed her. Since sitting up was thoroughly useless, the pain was just a little too much. She had to practically limbo out of bed, let out a stifled groan, which if unhampered may have been an outright scream. But fuck that asshole, she thought. Nothing he can do is going to keep me in this fucking hole, not tonight. He thought about the night they met. In February sometimes. He didn't know when. It was in a bar on 11th Avenue. He walked in and she was just sitting at the bar all alone. He lit a cigarette and decided he wouldn't take no for an answer, not tonight. Any fucking chick that hangs around at a waterfront bar, well, he knew her story all right, and she'd be begging for more. She was drinking vodka on the rocks, and it was her 3rd one. She felt even more quiet than usual. She wanted to be alone. And for some reason, she had wandered down here. No one seemed friendly to her when she looked in, so she thought no one would bother her. She hoped not, since she wasn't in the mood to be polite, and this wasn't exactly the type of place she'd want to get punchy in. She was just beginning to feel relaxed when she felt it. Someone was definitely grabbing her ass. Shit. But that's when he stepped in. He told the old nigger to get his goddamn hands off the lady now. The nigger knew he meant now, and not being the type to fuck with no crazy man, he just up and left. Well, Tony didn't really look crazy, not too crazy. He's about 6 feet tall, kind of wiry without being too skinny, you know. He always looked kind of greasy, but he wasn't real dirty, just not too clean either. He was about 26, you know, that faint, oily smell. He could even smell it. A high school dropout, and he was at this moment trying to pick up Mona. Mona was 23, 28, 35, I don't know. She looked anywhere from 10 to 35, depending on the angle, and acted the same way depending on her mood. Now she felt about 17, and she actually let this wrangly fool stick up for her. She could take care of herself all right, but she still liked a little bit of that old machismo that she did, don't we all? Tony didn't exactly pick up girls. He couldn't figure out just why he wanted to pick up Mona either, but that wasn't his style. They usually picked him up, and he couldn't understand that one either. Shit. He looked good enough. I mean, but it was his attitude toward women. I mean, yeah, he liked women just fine and all, but, well, he was a man, goddammit, and that meant he was the boss. No questions asked. No sirree. In this day and age, that didn't fare all too well, but he'd just be fine with this fucking bitch. Somehow he knew it. Yeah, she had that fuck me good or don't bother look, and that put Tony off a little bit, but it was real obvious that's exactly what she had in mind. He liked that. Yeah. She was a little bit detached from him, just sitting on that old rotten bar stool, but he knew that it wouldn't take very much at all to get her right where he wanted her, at the tip of his fucking dick. Yeah, she nodded her appreciation, motioned for him to sit down. He nodded back but decided to stand, thinking he had this fucking cherry, all right. She didn't even really look at him, not even in his direction, but she was still sizing him up. Basically, his smell. She couldn't quite place it, but it was somewhere between motor oil and sweat. For some reason, it was making her horny as shit. She haven't even looked at this fuck. And already she wanted it. Well, she was thinking about his greasy hands all over and was fucking hotter than hell. She was all fired up because of this stink. She thought, God damn it, what is it? She decided she didn't care and had to be fucked by until she screamed for him to stop, and that she was sure she would. Give the lady a drink, Tony said, and the bartender gave her a double, thinking, good luck, buddy. She still didn't speak to him, nor he to her. She swallowed the vodka and began to wonder what this guy was hung like. Shit, he sure was cocksure enough. So she looked in his direction. Directly at his cock, as a matter of fact. Discreetly, though, almost, as if looking at the floor. She couldn't really tell by this point and was too drunk to even care. Yeah, he was checking it out himself, all right, quite pleased with his purchase. He said she was getting hot. He didn't know why. He didn't care. As soon as she got hot, the sooner he'd stick it to her. She was real pretty, too pretty, really, for him, and he knew it. She had this almost haughty look on her face that could have and almost did spell bitch. But she was going to have a go at it for sure. Sure she fucking was. She had these real round tits that just sat real high on her chest. Seemed like everything about her was nice and round. Her legs were crossed, but you could already see them wrapped high around his fucking back. And taking a final look, he could see why that old nigger couldn't keep his hands off her ass. Shit, he was having a hard time keeping his hands off. Well, by this time, our girl, yeah, that's right, she's staring right at this bastard with a little bit more than interest. The bartender, he's not going to interrupt, yeah. She thought, well, this is almost handsome in this real criminal, kind of ugly way. He looked bad, like some sort of troublemaker. What type, she didn't know, and she didn't care. She's just staring at his profile, believing to do so discreetly, when real quick, he turned and their eyes met. It scared her a little, yeah. It scared the fucking shit right out of her. It just made her more excited. He could tell. He knew what he was doing. Let's go, he said, and without further introduction, they left. She didn't ask where they were going, and she didn't care. He didn't tell her either. They walked for about 2 blocks until the silence was broken. This way, he said, as they turned down what appeared to be an alley of some sort. Mona's blood's racing, yeah. For a second she wondered, what the goddamn hell am I doing down this fucking alley with this greasy goddamn bastard? He sensed a little something. He turned immediately around and grabbing her by the throat, he pushed her against the cold fucking bricks, and those eyes, those sad, deep eyes, he spit right in her face. Deep, really deep. It slid down her cheeks onto her neck. And then he kissed her hard, real fucking hard and deep, his hand still around her neck, just a little tighter, a little tighter, a little tighter. She couldn't do a fucking thing. He was almost choking her, partly strangling and partly suffocating that kiss. Thick. And she loved it. Her cunt was so wet he could smell it through the cold. He stopped kissing her. He didn't have time for that and just started to walk away. She followed. Of course. He kicked open the door and walked quickly through the absolute fucking pitch blackness. He turned the light on. That was almost it. She stood by the fucking door and wondered whether or not this was a mistake. She was sometimes a little stupid, yeah, you know. The entire place, practically empty, and what furniture it had, she hoped to fucking God she wouldn't be subjected to use. The place looked like It's totally uninhabited, filthy, filthy, grease everywhere. That may have been what attracted her to him in the first place, but she didn't feel much affection for the slime hole. It seemed like he appeared out of nowhere, and all of a sudden he was directly in front of her, just putting his hands all over, just like she wished for in the bar. She forgot about the filth of the house and began to concentrate on that at hand. He's running his hands real slow up and down her body, just squeezing her tits, taking the whole thing in his big hands, and then just working on them, working, kind of rough, just like she liked it. Sliding his hands down her body, cupping her big ass in one hand, stroking her cunt real nice with the other, just sliding his hands up around her pert fucking tits again. She was taking it all in. He liked that. He liked a girl who knew how to get worked. He was kissing her neck real nice, just sucking the flesh in soft, tasting how sweet it was and hoping her cunt was just as sweet. He unbuttoned her shirt, still sucking, pulling, tugging, felt a fucking rush to his cock, squeezing her tiny fucking rock-hard nipples. He began just sucking soft and easy, harder. He was so fucking hard he thought the skin of his dick would rip. He was squeezing the meat of her tits, biting him. She was growing real quiet, and he knew she'd be able to take one hell of a fucking. He started sliding her pants down. The smell of her pussy drove him out of his fucking skull. Was strong and kind of biting, pungent, good. Yeah, her pants slid down to her ankles, no trouble at all. He knew they would, and there she stood. So fucking round, it almost looked like a joke. He couldn't get enough of that ass, those tits, that cunt. His hands just kept roaming all over. He began licking down her belly, over the small light hairs, tasting her flesh, that sweet stink. That sweet fucking stink. The further down he went, he pulled aside the hair, pulled aside the lips. Just began to suck real soft. Oh yeah, real soft. Licking every crease in her fucking pussy back and forth. Keeping it up until he heard her beg, fuck me. Still all slurpy and shit, he pulls his pants down, laid her down on the cold slimy floor and stuck his meat right in, just a tad. Just the head. Making her almost cream right on the fucking spot. He was gonna get this bitch to beg some more. He worked it in and out. The size of that fucking thing, Jesus. She was squirming under him real slow. It was real slow, just the way he liked it. Then she started. Loud. Almost too loud even for him, begging, screaming to get fucked. Give it to me, over and over. So if that's what she wants, that's what she'd get. And he started ramming his cock all the way into her con. Something she wasn't that ready for, but something she needed so fucking bad. She was screaming at the top of her lungs. All those things girls screaming, they're getting the piss fucked out of them. Just screaming. He just kept pumping it to her deep as he could, hard as he could. He swore he'd tear her fucking guts out, pumping so hard, but he didn't give a shit. Since he was going to come any second now, and when he did, he spat in her face for the second time in 30 minutes. He got off her, and they each dressed in silence, each equally disgusted with what they had just done. She combed her hair, and when Tony left to go take a piss, she left. She walked real fast to 11th Avenue and got into a cab. He came out of the piss room and was glad as hell she was gone, that snotty cunt. She didn't do anything to warrant that title. As a matter of fact, she didn't even say a single fucking word to him. He just didn't like her, and he didn't know why. Win a few, you lose a few.